Testing 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hello, Candy.
On today's episode of Living Culture, we attend the local food and farm forum in Canby. 6 candidates running for Congress will discuss policies that affect local food availability, markets, and small Oregon farms. Hosting the event is Friends of Family Farmers, a nonprofit that advocates for socially responsible agriculture. Rural residents, farmers, and local food supporters will be attending the forum to voice their concerns and hear what these candidates have to say. Stay tuned.
We've been here since 4:30, so doing a little bit of rearranging and remodeling, and it's coming together. The candidates and organizations are coming, and we'll set up this stuff and then get ready for the mixer from 6 to 7.
Family farmers who are working to get their products into markets and schools, they don't have highfalutin lobbyists on Capitol Hill. And so the local foods and farm forum is an opportunity for family farmers and rural residents and advocates of local food and building a sound local food economy. This gives those people an opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with the next congressman who's going to be representing the 5th District in Washington, D.C.
It's got like
I think that this is going to be a really interesting forum because it's going to give people the opportunity to listen to these candidates, and you'll notice that there are 6 candidates coming tonight. So we're going to get 6 perspectives on agriculture and food availability, and that's pretty cool. So I'm just looking forward to hearing some differing views on the whole thing.
And so some of this is to help get family farms back in existence, to be actually the predominant way of farming rather than agribusiness. Some of it's going to be through deregulating some stuff at the federal government, getting it back to state government instead of federal, so that we actually have more local control of what we're doing, because we understand each other better than the federal governments and the lobbyists. So a lot of it is to just get back to the way we used to do it.
farming is becoming increasingly difficult because the average age of farmers has gone up so dramatically. I think the average age of the farmer now is over 60. So the best way we can do that is to give incentives to get people into farming, kind of like the way teachers get incentives to go into teaching. So if we can get people incentives to do what they need to, to be able to go into an industry they're interested in, then we will be able to get more of them into that industry.
Which we need.
We really do, yeah. We really need more farmers in this country. There, frankly, are not enough of them left.
Tonight's going to be pretty straightforward, and it's like every other political meeting you went to in that there's not going to be nearly enough time, and it's going to last too long. I should warn you that I'm neutral on this. I am definitely in support of one of them winning. But what I want to warn you about is I have a really bad ear infection. So if I grimace, I want you to know it's not an editorial comment on anything anybody's saying. It's just I'm getting pain in my ear, okay? So we're going to start the evening with each candidate having an opportunity 3 minutes long to say who they are, introduce themselves a little, and talk about their position on food and farming.
My name's Alex Polikoff. I'm with the Pacific Green Party, and I'm from Corvallis. And I'm supposed to talk about why I'm running for Congress. So basically why I'm running is because the Democrats and Republicans, who pretty much represent 100% of Congress, seem to have an inability to address the really serious problems that the country's facing right now. So I would say, I didn't grow up on a farm, so I'm not an expert on farm issues. I'm actually an engineer. My my personal expertise is in the energy field since I'm a power system engineer. But I rely on those in my party, and I would rely on you to give me some direction on, on what is important to you in these issues. But I mean, apart from that, let me just tell you, the few topics that really force me to run are not divorced from farm issues. So, for example, I'm 100% against the war. I want us to get out now out of Iraq and Afghanistan. And you might say, well, what does that have to do with farm issues? Well, 1 hour in Iraq equals the agricultural market development grants funding for the whole year. So that's $15 million. So that's what we have, an hour in Iraq or market development programs.
My name is Doug Patterson. I'm the Constitution Party candidate, and I'm not sure how many answers I'm going to have for you this evening. I'm running for a federal office, and to my knowledge, there's no authority in the Constitution for the federal government to be involved in farming. And when I got here this evening and was privy to a lot of the agricultural talk, I thought, well, maybe I better check. So I got my Constitution out, read through Article 1, Section 8. Sure enough, there's nothing in there that authorizes the federal government to be involved in this issue. And it would be my guess that I don't know all the issues that you're facing as farmers, but it would be my guess that if we got the federal government out of it and left that money in the state, that you could probably go a long way to solving a lot of your problems.
Good evening. I'm Steve Milligan, and I want to thank the Friends of Family Farms for inviting me here tonight. A little background is I got started with organic food back in the early 1980s when it was a rarity. And at that time I would take my mom shopping with me, and she would see the groceries and she'd say, how can you afford to pay that much for produce? And I'm like, how much? Because at that point I'd made a commitment that organic needed support, and I was going to support it regardless of the price. And it's really exciting to sit here in a group to see that it's actually sustainable. It's actually been growing. It's actually been becoming a bigger market share than it ever was. Owned a grocery store in Monmouth, a little natural food store, and made a commitment to only sell organic foods. So I'm familiar with organically grown corporation. I'm familiar with some of the small family farms throughout Polk County and Benton County that I was able to get their produce and sell through the store. I understand the market needs for smaller farms. I agree with Doug that the Constitution doesn't say anything about the government controlling anything in agriculture. And at this point, my stance would be to try and get the federal government to step back and let a lot of this go into local control rather than federal control.
Well, first of all, a lot of people ask, a lot of candidates, why are you running? Why do you want to go to Congress? And for me, it's pretty simple. I grew up in a family with a dad as a police officer who was a public servant his whole life. And he spent a lot of years, 30-some years, helping others, making people's lives better, helping with the food bank and Habitat for Humanity. And I grew up in a family watching him give back. And 18 years ago, I started a business. And a lot of people said, hey, it's tough out there. You really want to do this? You have a good job? And I said, yeah. I jumped into this thing and started a business. And I've been blessed to have one of the fastest growing companies in Oregon with a lot of hard work. The first few years, no clients. Like many of us small businesses and farmers out there, we all struggle to make ends meet. And it's a tough economy. It's tough times now more than ever. We're dealing with a lot of things we've never dealt with as business owners and farmers and just everyday people out here. And we need leaders in Congress that have experienced the ups and downs of what the economy is bringing today and what life throws at you as a small business or a farmer. What I see going on in Washington is unacceptable. Too much partisan bickering, too many scandals, not enough solution, not enough ideas. It's too many people back there go back there and become career politicians. Whatever happened to the average person, whether it be a farmer or the businessman or the doctor, going back and representing the people's district and doing a great job and truly being a representative of the people back in Washington. I think we've lost touch with that. Nowadays, you got members of Congress that have been here 20, 30 years. We no longer have representatives of the people. We have long-term career politicians making decisions for us, whether you're a small businessman or a farmer, whoever you are in the community here, and they've lost touch with us. I jumped in this race 2 years ago against Darlene Hooley and ran a real competitive race and came up a little bit short in a bad Republican environment. And so I jumped in the race again and says, you know, we made some good inroads and got my message out there about being fiscally responsible, taking care of people first and foremost. When you start a business is not going to survive unless you provide, the cornerstone of a business is great customer service. And in Congress, Darlene Hooley did a great job at providing good constituent service. I want to continue that and provide great constituent service to the people of this district and really represent you the best you can. If you go back there with a lot of unbiasedness and just eyes wide open, you're going to do a good job. I'm going back there. I'm going to work hard for you guys. I'm a real hard worker. We need smart new business people back there that really care about people and will truly practice what they do for a living. I teach fiscal practices, fiscally conservative practices out here. So I'm looking forward to working hard for you guys and answering some of your questions as the night goes on. So thank you.
I'm Sean Bates, and I'm the independent party candidate. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not a farmer, so some of you that have been out during the meet and greet met one of my staff members named Dave. He's actually the one providing me with information. I did as much research as I could for this beforehand, but again, I'm not a farmer, so I don't know the issues that are really important to you guys. What I can tell you is that I will listen to you and consider the opinions that you give me. I do agree with Doug, in that the federal government is probably not the right person to be handing out money and being involved in local farming. It is too bloated, it is inefficient, and in a lot of cases it's just plain corrupt. So by passing that money and time and effort on to the state and local governments, they'll be able to do a lot better job.
Farm bills passed by Congress should ensure family farms have an opportunity to make a sustainable income in order to be able to afford to keep their land. It's important we look at anything possible to make sure they be able to keep their land for a long time.
I think that people that are in this country deserve a shot at things. If they're here, it's really, really important to make sure we take care of them. I'd say four things to people walking across the border into our country. That's what we're really talking about here. One is that we should make it legal. We should make people legal immigrants, not illegal immigrants. The border needs to be enforced, no two ways about it. We don't build some sort of Berlin Wall. I mean, that goes against everything this country was built on. But you're smart about this enforcement that's going on down there. Secondly, if you build a better legal immigration system, you don't have to deal with illegal immigration. Prohibition hasn't worked in many other areas of our country. It's not going to work here. What we need to do is figure out how to have the right workers, not taking jobs away from Americans, but supplementing our workforce. That's been the history of this nation. That's what's made us a great country, frankly, giving people opportunity.
The more government gets involved in our lives, the worse things seem to happen. So the less government, the better. I don't think they should be telling us where we should get our food from. We got some great farmers here. We got some great everything in the state. And I hope that we have a way to be able to distribute it within the state here and take full advantage of that. But to have government say we can't supply Oregonians from local farms and get government more involved in those decisions, I'm against that. Less government, better, I believe.
And there's one more person sitting up here that says keep the government out of it. Quite frankly, the best the federal government could do would do tax cuts to anyone who decides to put a processor up locally. The problem then becomes everyone would send their cattle to that particular processor, and the market locally would be flooded, which would put several of the cattle farmers out of business. So the government really does just need to stay out of it.
I don't think you need a lot of intervention, but if you're going to sell beef or lamb, which my wife and I have done over the years locally, and we've used a local processor to do it, you have to either direct market it right now or not sell it. What we need to do, especially in light of all the food safety issues and the black eye that they try and brand farmers with, you have to have some sort of regulation, frankly, to assure that the food's safe for consumption. What I would suggest, and I'm open to discussion on this, is that the federal government, USDA, can delegate some of that to our state. State Department of Ag could deal, frankly, locally with what's going on here in the state of Oregon. where quite frankly we don't have that much food safety issues. And it begs the bigger question about, how come we're importing all this beef, all these products from out of this country where they don't play by the same environmental rules, they don't have the same working conditions and labor issues. And I think that's something that we really have to get behind and figure out how to solve. That's why I'm a big supporter of the cool legislation that's in the federal Congress right now.
As I mentioned in my intro, I think we just need to get corporate donations out of the election business, and then there won't be this quid pro quo going on, whether it's overt or covert. So if you publicly finance all, like at least for the office we're running for, publicly finance all federal elections, then there won't be any reason to go around and have PACs and whether it's agribusiness or any other corporate business, get that influence out of politics, and then everyone will have an equal voice that way. Otherwise, you can call all you want or email your congressman all you want, but it's where the money flows. Money talks, and everything else, walks.
I won't see lobbyists, but I will hear you because I will be back here doing town hall meetings. You can come and tell me what's on your mind.
As far as the ag lobby, just like every other lobbyist that walks into my office would pretty much get shown the door and a rather rude hand gesture. They don't deserve a congressman's time. They don't deserve a senator's time. They don't deserve anyone's time. They're not representative of the people that you're supposed to be there to represent. And how would I hear you? You call my office, you send me a letter, you talk to my staff, it'll get to me and I'll read every note, every memo, every letter, every email. It doesn't matter. You leave a voicemail, I'll listen to it. You're the people I represent, you're the people I pay attention to. Everybody else can get shown the door.
Well, maybe I'm the only person that's served in a citizen legislative capacity, but I think everyone deserves to be heard. I don't care who you are. The more people you listen to, the more informed you get. One thing I've learned in my brief little tenure in the legislature is that things aren't as black and white as maybe I thought they were when I walked in that door. Everyone's got a right to a different opinion. I learned from that. Doesn't mean I adopt everyone's opinion that comes to talk to me. And I sure hope, Will, that you will not be shy in communicating. I mean, you never have been before, so I don't see why you'd stop just because I'm going to Congress. But I would hope all of you would indeed email us. That does make a difference. As a state legislator, I'll tell you, your emails, your phone calls can make a huge difference in the discussion that goes on in the halls of the legislature, and I would say, in my case, in Congress. Without appropriate zoning and land use system we have as modified by Measure 49, we wouldn't have agriculture in this community right here, right now. We have some of the best farmland right here in the Willamette Valley. I'll brag, I live in Canby. I think some of the best farmland right in the Canby area. This is prime development land, too. The farm tax deferral system that was established with Senate Bill 100, or right after 100, is probably one of the best dang policies we have out here. It allows farmers to farm in an urbanized setting. I mean, it's the biggest industry, one of the biggest, well, probably the biggest industry in Congressional District 5. My wife talks, I think correctly, about it should be a traded sector. We shouldn't just be talking high-tech or manufacturing. Those are important. We should be talking about how valuable farming is. And it will go away, folks. It will just flat out go away. And I think it's a testimony to how the people in this great state look at it. Measure 37 tried to fix a genuine problem, balancing property rights with what we do here in our land use system and community, protecting our communities. But they got it wrong. Measure 37 got it wrong. And overwhelmingly, when Measure 49 came out, and I'm proud to have supported that, and was supported by a lot of the farmers in the farming community, because it was a way to respect property rights and not do away with our ability to farm in our great state or actually harvest our trees. And I think this is a great thing in our state. We continue to work on it. I'm a big supporter of the Big Look process that is now actually trying to figure out what are some of the new long-term strategies to keep the bureaucracy at a minimum and actually make sure we protect farm and forest land at the same time.
Kurt just proved my point. The state handled it. You don't need a federal government for those problems.
Well, I personally think Measure 37, some of the land use laws and urban growth boundary needed to be readdressed, and I'm glad the voters got it right. There's got to be a happy mix out there. I think Measure 49 answered that, It's not the best of both worlds, but it did address it, and I'm glad they readdressed Measure 37. I mean, it's important that we don't encroach too far on the farmland, and we need to do it the right way, and I think Measure 49 was probably the best solution we could come up with in the meantime, and absolutely keep our federal government out of those local decisions, period.
I'm a big supporter of the program. I think the Farm Bill the new Farm Bill is actually working towards enhancing that more and more. The state legislature, I try to encourage more sustainable practices and the diversity in our farming industry. I really feel that at this stage of the game, and I know this because I ran a community sustainable farm for a lot of years, Will, and there's a lot of people that cannot handle certain foodstuffs in the commercial marketplace. There has to be a place for food that's grown in a different way. We're also seeing many, many manufacturers and actually some huge grocery chains now move to making sure organic farm produce is available for those that care to do that. I will also tell you that my commercial friends that do a lot of agriculture are also looking for ways to have non-expensive chemical inputs because it costs money, some enlightened self-interest perhaps. So I think that the work that's done in our extension, please support the extension bill in Clackamas County, and the work that's done by Oregon State University is actually starting to get recognized and now becoming mainstream. So I'm a real huge supporter.
I think that's a good program. Again, my colleagues will probably disagree, the libertarians so on, that the government should stay out of all that, but I think those conservation additions to this year's Farm Bill is good. You know, we need to bring up other things along, like the direct marketing and things that help the everything devoted to organics was probably like $100 million, and then we have billions for conservation, which is great, and then we have this tens of billions for commodities. So I think we do need to spread things around a little bit if we're going to have a program, make it fair.
Like Doug, the government should probably stay out of it, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't fund it. The Farm Bill's a pretty good idea, but on the federal level, it probably is not the best use of time. A farm and conservation bill like that at the state and local level is probably a better choice, although funding it federally is certainly an option.
I want to remind us that this is not the end of the discussion, that it is just the beginning, and really the onus is on us, the consumers, the eaters, the farmers, the rural residents, whoever it is that makes it to Congress this next year. We have to stay in contact with them. We have to communicate with them. We have to let them know what's on our mind, what issues are important to us. And to whoever gets to Congress this November and starting next year, I would also urge you to reach out to the family farmers, the one question that was referring to those that don't make enough money to fly themselves to D.C. to talk to you in person. You really have to talk to these people because there's a lot of them in Oregon. There's over 40,000 family farmers here. So I encourage you, when you come back to the district, have meetings, contact any of us. We'll gladly put you in contact with the farmers that we work with. But we really do hope that you'll have an open ear to the family farmers and rural residents and people that are advocates of rebuilding our local food economy. So with that, thank you very, very much for joining us in a lively discussion on farm and food policy. And I wish you all a safe return home, and I want to thank you, and good night. Thanks.
If you would like more information on living culture, visit our website, www.livingcultureonline.com.